If you need to prevent an HTML form from being submitted with jQuery, there's only two simple steps needed. So first, let's take a look at how this example works. This is a very simple form with simply a text input and a submit button. That's it. Now, the method is post and the action is frontendvideo.org. So that means that when the submit button is clicked, we will be taken to frontendvideo.org because that's the value of the action attribute, and it will be a post. So when I click the submit button, we can see that we're taken to frontendvideo.org as expected. Now, nothing really happened. The form doesn't really do anything, and nothing happens when we get there. But the key here is that when we click the submit button, the form is actually submitted and we're taken to the URL that we expect via the action attribute. So what I want is to prevent that from happening. I want to set it up so that when the user clicks the submit button, instead of being taken to frontendvideo.org, nothing at all will happen. So if you look at the JavaScript tab, you can see that there's a click event handler already set up for the button. And the click event handler has this callback function. So in the callback function, I'm going to paste these two lines of code. Now that I've pasted those two lines of code in, watch what happens when I click the submit button. Nothing happens. The form is not being submitted. The reason that happens is because the callback in the click event handler receives an event object as its first argument. So I'm calling two methods on the event object. The first method is the prevent default method. The prevent default method prevents the default behavior of an event. So the default behavior of a submit button click is to submit the form that the button belongs to. So we're preventing that default behavior, which renders the click meaningless. Nothing happens when we click the button. And now stop propagation may not always be required, but there's no harm in putting it there. And what that does is it prevents the event from bubbling up the DOM in case you have an ancestor that's also capturing the event. The event will go no further than the actual HTML element, in this case the submit button. It won't bubble up to the form, let's say, or the HTML element. So by adding these two methods, the submit button does nothing. If I take these away, you can see that when I click the submit button, we're taken to frontendvideo.org. And if I put these back, you can see that when I click the submit button, nothing happens. Now, what you do next is up to you. There may be more work involved in terms of you may want to do some form validation or something like that. But if you're simply looking to prevent an HTML form from being submitted and you have access to jQuery in the page, calling event.prevent-default and event.stop-propagation will prevent the form from being submitted when the submit button is clicked.